I'll be back. All right, damn it. What's up, y'all? Well, had an interesting comment on the last Wednesday live stream. Individual said there's a little too much middle school language for him, so he had kicked me to the curb, and that's fine. That's fine. But I do have a little bit of advice for anybody who ever watches this channel or stream or whatever the fuck. Um, if you don't really like it, just leave. You don't have to comment. I mean, I will say this: it got a little much last Wednesday, even though Wednesday night be a little more no holds barred, but Sunday try to keep it PG-13. It's Sunday after all, but Wednesday night, cut it loose a little bit more. But we don't have to go into those deep 14-inch waters every single Wednesday. Anyway, so Mr. Scholes, I think that's how you say his name, Washington State, decided to open up his face a couple days ago. Once again, it's probably the worst guy to have talk for you. But anyway, yeah, he said that a potential partner was like, hey, we would do a deal right now, man. Pen to paper, no problem. But we got to lay off a lot of people. So the optics, we need a good, whatever it was. How long did he say he needed? 6 weeks? Something like some ridiculous amount of time. 6 weeks because of the optics. So everyone's like, okay, got to be talking about ESPN there. And then ESPN kind of got leaked out that they're looking at trying to get Pat McAfee on board there, which, by the way, that'd be a pretty horrible move for Pat McAfee. he can kind of do what he wants. He has that independence. I think he should learn a lesson from Barstool. You know, they sold out to some big corporation, and then one of their guys got fired. Dude made a mistake, obviously, but they weren't going to fire him. But they kind of got overridden by their corporate overlords. So learn that lesson, Mr. Pat McAfee. It's probably a bad idea. Either way, they're not apparently so concerned about optics if they're looking at trying to throw a couple $100 million at Pat McAfee. So then everyone assumes, oh, it must have been Amazon then. Well, hold on. Amazon wanted, what, one game? I don't see that. And by the way, it wasn't. Remember, you had all these people saying, well, no. You know, ESPN is definitely, definitely there. So, another thing, their thought process was, Amazon is also laying off people. But that was announced months and months ago. All right, because the layoffs that they're doing, it's because they had to basically ramp up and hire a crap ton of people through the pandemic. And I was working at UPS through the pandemic, and it was like Christmas season that whole summer because everyone was locked in and ordering crap off of Amazon. And UPS and the post office, we deliver a ton of Amazon stuff. They produce too much crap just for the Amazon drivers to deliver. So they have us do a lot of it, and I mean a lot of it. So that was always going to happen. They were going to have to let those people go because, of course, Amazon kind of went back down to its normal billions of dollar level. So they had to let those folks go because they were basically overstaffed. So, yeah, everyone knows that. So that has nothing to do with any kind of TV deal or anything. And another thing, I don't think, people were kind of intimating that Scholes was lying. I don't think he was. I think he was actually told that, or at least that, because he's a part of the executive committee. The main three presidents there in the Pac-12. So either him or one of the others or whatever, but he's in on those conversations when it comes to a TV deal. So I believe that was said to Pac-10, 12, whatever people. And I do believe it was ESPN that said it. Because they're the only ones that you would buy worrying about optics or whatever. Now, if you see in the little thumbnail there, I believe that the Pac-10 is being played. They're being played by ESPN. They're being played by multiple people, but especially ESPN. Because they want them to hold on. They want them not to do anything. Just wait. That way it gives them plenty of time to work around trying to get teams to the Big 12. It's in ESPN's best interest to do so. They don't really want to do a deal with ESPN. They just want a few teams in the Big 12, which they already have a deal with, get a pro rata deal with, saves them money, and they get the content that they want for their late night window. It's really simple. They just need a little more time to make that happen. You're not going to get these teams in there quickly. They got to get institutional support to make the move. You possibly have to do a side deal with Amazon to help bring in some people in case Fox didn't want to give their portion because they're not contractually bound to do shit. Now, would they give money for Arizona? Yeah, that's an incredible basketball school. They would want that. I believe they would give money for Gonzaga. I believe possibly give money for Colorado. Maybe not. Arizona State, I don't know. So you may have to get them on board. And Utah is probably not an option, so that would help you bring in San Diego State or Oregon State, something of that nature. All right, West Virginia guy 56. What's up, man? I predict Colorado will be the first team to leave the Pac-12 by the end of June. Oh, we're going to hear something before the end of June. I believe so. But as far as the first team, I wouldn't doubt it. The Big Lubbock. What's up, man? The executive running Apple TV Sports has quit Apple. Just when it rains, it pours, doesn't it? Daniel Hamilton. What's up, man? My opinion is that the Pac-12 don't have a deal, and they keep moving the goalpost. ESPN, Fox, and Amazon are out. The only one left is Apple Plus. Well, there's also a rumor of a NBC Universal. They have some other business they got to do first, but yeah, I think it was Andrew Marchand. Is it Marchand? Yeah, he talked about Amazon being out, and this is a very, very well-connected individual. He's not a Big 12 type of guy like a Dennis Dodd. He's not a John Canzano type. He's over there on the East Coast. He ain't paying it. He doesn't have a dog in the hunt. Let's put it that way. And that's what he's saying. The Big Lubbock, I think Kliavkoff is being played by Oregon and Washington. That's the second group that's playing him. Keep in mind, who's in this executive committee? All right, his direct bosses, all right, the people who are kind of running all of the presidents and who are really active in the TV in the TV deal. It's the Washington president, Stanford president. Two schools that will jump to the Big Ten in 2 seconds. You think they're in a hurry to get a deal done? No. They still are trying to get an audience with the new commissioner in the Big Ten, PTD. Now, I'm not saying anything will come of it, but they're trying to work something there. So, yeah, they're being played by their own executive committee outside of the Washington State guy. I think, who's wanting Washington State? It's not the Big Ten. So, you got two guys who have two people in there, and one of them is Kase, I believe her name is, in Washington. Probably the most powerful president in all the Pac-12. And she is on a school that will jump to the Big Ten in any minute. You don't think you don't think they're looking after themselves a little bit more than they are the Pac-10? Yeah. So, but ESPN, and I like I said, I don't think Scholes is lying about what he's being told. I think that's exactly what they're being told. And I do believe that what Dennis Dodd heard from ESPN, as far as what ESPN told the Big 12, that they're really only going to work with three conferences. Yeah. As far as tier one, as far as in depth, yeah. Could they work with someone else? Maybe. If they had to work with the Pac-12, all right, let's just say no schools could get any kind of support to move to the Big 12. Let's say everyone's just stuck in the hellhole. Yeah, they'll do something like tier 2 deal just so they can get a late night window game. That's it. That's what they'll give you if they have to. They're trying right now to work something out where they don't have to dick with you at all, which is the smart play. And of course, I wouldn't trust the Washington president, Kase, save my life. Not when they're trying to get into the Big Ten. So they're getting screwed every which way, And there's just, like I said before. I mean, there's a scenario where there is no Pac-10 deal. There's no TV deal to be had. At least nothing that can hold your conference together. Now, possibly, like I said, there's Apple. But does that keep Oregon and Washington in there on Apple? I don't think so. You got to hope and pray the NBC Universal thing comes together, because that's the only option you got. And you'll still lose teams with that because it's still mostly streaming. But as I broke it down in my last video, there's a way the Pac can stay alive, with some backfill after you lose some teams. But it's not looking great. And I don't know how you add San Diego State, because nobody's going to want to give up any money to get San Diego State. I don't see NBC giving you extra money to add G5 schools. I don't see anyone you do a deal with. I don't see why they would give up money or give money, a pro rata, for instance, for G5. Because a P5 schools just aren't available for you. You know, the Big 12's wrapped up till 2031. ACC's wrapped up until Jesus comes back, and you know the two main conference, the two big conferences, they're no one's leaving there, so it's G5 or nothing. So the only way you're going to get them is like the Big 12 did. They gave up money to bring in the 4 new schools. Who's going to be willing to give up money to bring in SMU and San Diego State? Who? I mean, would Oregon State, Washington State give up money? Well, chances are, if you're doing an NBC Universal deal with USA and Peacock as your main distributors, chances are it's not going to be a lot of money. Plus, if you still have Oregon and Washington, like you may very well have them, it'll have to be uneven revenue split. That's the only way those teams will agree to it. So there may not be enough money for Oregon State and Washington State to actually give money. So now you're looking at, okay, would Oregon and Washington give up money? No, they're not going to give up 1 cent to bring those schools in. Now, you got to stay at 10. So that's a tricky thing, isn't it? Someone's going to have to give up some money. Someone's going to have to give up some money. That's the funny part about this whole thing. There's so many layers to this, and no good outcomes. It's amazing. It's amazing. Even, you know, to go back to my Marvel analogies, even in Infinity War, Doctor Strange, you know, went through all, you know, millions and billions of outcomes and found one positive one. You know, the Pack can't seem to find one. Vernon Sheldon Winter, what's up, dude? West Virginia got 56. I doubt if it lasts that long. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying too. I think by the time you get to into June, you're already screwed. You already lost some teams. And, you know, I say they'll backfill. It's not that easy to just backfill. Backfill with what and with what? That's the most important thing. With what money? You got to have a deal. And you should have already added teams, but you kind of screwed yourself. And I would still contend if you happen to make a deal with Amazon, I know people are going to like, well, hold on. You already got ESPN and Fox. It's already done. Dude, that deal doesn't start till 2025. You can amend that deal if need be. It's already in their contract that, like, if Fox won't give up money to add a school, they can take those rights and sell them on the market. That would be Amazon. They still want their 1 game a week. They still would like a Friday night game. The Big 12 can hook them up with that. As a matter of fact, they may get out cheaper than doing a deal with the Pack. I don't know. But, you know, Coos put it out there. You know, I've been putting it out there for a while. Before Coos, damn it. That's all right. I'll share my idea. But, you know, he kind of gave a theoretical dollar amount. You know, what would you pay for a Friday night game? You know, 12 weeks out of the year. What is that worth? You know, we've heard ESPN willing to pay 90, maybe 100 million for their 1 game a week, late night window. So you talk about a Friday night exclusive game. Would that be worth $100 million? I mean, that's feasible. I mean, I think Coos was dead on balls accurate with that figure. That could be roughly right around. What are you tying it to? Are you tying it to a possible Colorado or, I don't know, Arizona State? I mean, really, are they going to be that picky? They may want a share of Tier 1 rights, like a game of the Tier 1. So maybe not your best game, but maybe your second best game. I mean, there's a way to work it out. The Big Ten showed you how to you can sell tier one rights to multiple platforms. They don't have to go to just one. So that could be worked out. And what do you do with that money? You can more than afford to bring in a San Diego State and really screw the Pac over. Because at this point, if they lose Colorado and lose Arizona, at least those two, the first team they're calling is San Diego State. But, you know, like I said, the Pac's going to have a hard time finding money to pay them. And what are they going to? It won't be a full share, obviously, of whatever TV deal. But what is the amount? Is it 12 million a year, 15 million a year? I mean, could feasibly, with Amazon on board, you could. I wouldn't say you would give them a full share. Maybe close to it. Maybe 25. You could give to San Diego State. I mean, that's you could basically outbid and outpay the Pac-12 if you do that. If you do a deal like that. Let's see, Big Lubbock backfill with UC Irvine and Portland State. Hey, come on, UNLV. That's a great option. It's a great option. They love hanging out in the desert anyway. But it's juicy, I'll tell you that. And everyone else will tell you, well, you know, I hope the Pac survives. I don't. I don't. I just know the reality of this whole thing, where we're going down the road. I'm not Nostradamus, but you can kind of see the pathway. There's only going to be room for maybe 3 power conferences in the future. The way the Big 12 gets paid in the future is because you got less conferences, power conferences to pay. So your money goes up because they need your content. They have to have it. So the more teams you absorb, especially power teams, power 5 teams, it increases the value of the overall conference. This is why I'm a proponent. I mean, people always talk about, well, we think the Big 12 can get to 20. The Big 12 needs to get closer to 30 teams altogether. I'm talking 24, 26, 28, whatever it is. When you include basketball only, you got to have that. Larry Pilgrim. If Colorado left, Colorado State would be brought in. Could be. I think they've talked to Colorado State. And why wouldn't you talk to Fresno State? It's in California. You might as well. I mean, it's not like you're going to get, you know, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, so you might as well get some Bulldog. I almost felt like I was going to make a point. Thanks for interrupting me, Larry Pilgrim, bastard. Big Lubbock. Is it a zero-sum game? Need the Pac and the ACC to dissolve for the health of the Big 12. Oh, no, it's not a question. Sorry, it is a zero-sum game. Well, yeah, it is, because there's these networks only have so much money. Now, in the future, streaming, I think, is going to get more involved, and with more money, that'll add a lot of money to everything. But eventually, you're going to cap out. I mean, the Big Ten is not going to make $10 billion a year. They're not going to make $1 billion per school. They're not going to get to, you know, it's already at an insane level. It's going to go higher, but incrementally. They're not going to go nuts. You know, so I think their deal's up in 2030. So they'll get a raise. They'll be worth more. They'll get a little more money. You know, I think before in other videos I've said, you know, hypothetically, let's say they get 100 million. Well, right now, what are they getting? 75? Could they get to 100 million per team? Sure. I mean, it's feasible, not guaranteed, but feasible. And you know, what about the SEC? I mean, they're making a little bit less. What are they making? 65, 70, something like that. Um, could they get to 90 million? Sure. Sure. Now, if everything breaks right for the Big 12 and they make a lot of good moves and avoid some potholes, could they theoretically get to 50 to 60 million per team? I'm talking about just TV deal, not payouts, not corporate sponsorships, none of the other stuff. None of the other revenue streams, just the TV deal. That's your main revenue stream. It's possible. It's possible that you can basically bring it up to that level. Mr. Rel, what's up, dude? This is probably the peak of conference TV media deals. It's a bubble that's popping as we speak. The peak of conference TV media deals. If you're just talking about linear, maybe. I don't know. I still think you got the 2030s. I think the status quo for the most part will hold, but I do think you'll see the streamers get more than just their foot in the door. I think they'll be way more involved by the time you get to 2030, 2031. Yeah, it's not like, because the networks are diversifying, right? So it's not just about being on Comcast or being associated with a cable package or a satellite package, DirecTV and stuff like that. It's about being on Hulu. It's about, because Hulu does live TV. Any of those live TV streamers, I mean, the shit's pretty alive and well there. YouTube TV is not a small deal. It's not. So shit's going to change, but a lot of the traditional stuff, it'll adapt for a while before it peters out totally, before there is no more cable TV or satellite TV. We're still a ways away from that. At least that's what I'm guessing. That's my prognostication. Anyway, the big Lubbock. There will not be any more billion-dollar TV contracts without more inventory, more schools added. No, the Big Ten is going to still make the money. They don't have to get the 20 teams to make plenty of money, and they know that. That's why they're going to be really picky with who they do add. And it's not a slam dunk. It's Oregon or Washington or even UNC or Virginia. All right, you agree with Mr. L. That's good, I think. Larry Pilgrim, yep, that is why ESPN is trying to move to direct to customer cord cutters. No, don't worry about it. I know you try to correct it there. Damn English, a million ways to spell one word. Um, yeah, they've been talking about a direct to consumer kind of deal. And that's why being on ESPN Plus, it's not a bad thing. That's the future of ESPN is ESPN Plus. So if you're on there, you're doing well. To me, I mean, at least you're kind of in the cutting edge, if you will. Thought I had that. No, thought I had something else. I don't. Yeah, poor old Pac, man. They're just going to believe everything they're told. Yeah, the ACC, that's going to be another interesting one. This realignment shit, it's just not going to go anywhere. It'll slow down a little bit. They got the football season. Not a whole lot, I think, will happen. I don't know how long it'll take for the ACC to really, screw themselves and just dissolve whatever. Even if that's if it does. I don't know. I think that's going to be trickier than most people think. I don't know. We may have to hit the 2030s before that thing really does something. Damn, I was trying to remember. Ah, shit, I thought I had. Oh, there was a. Well, let me get to this one first. The Big Lubbock. How long do you give the ACC staying together? I don't think it exists past 2031. It may not. I think it'll be, like I said, I think it'll be like, I don't know, somewhere. We may have to get into the 2030s, at least within earshot of 2036 for something really to go weird with that. I could be wrong. There's a lot of people that think it could be only 2-3 years before that thing really starts to fall apart, or people find a way out. I mean, apparently Florida State is really serious about it. Clemson really serious about it. So uh, the more people you have fighting that fight, the quicker it can happen. Let's see, Larry Pilgrim. The Monty Show has turned into pizza bucked up in the advocate ambulance chasing firm. Shit. Yeah, kind of has. It's unfortunate. Monty has a good personality, and I don't even mind it when he's an asshole because I'm an asshole, and assholes kind of don't. We don't have a problem with each other as far as being an asshole. It's just to me that when you think you're better, so much better than other creators who have kind of the same subscriber count. Just when you big time people and you're not big time, what are you doing? You know, I look. I love Gold Blue Dude, cool guy. At first, I didn't love him. I grew to love him, and there was something instinctual because I was watching the Monty show when he asked about doing a collaboration or something, and of course, Monty's like, I don't even know who you are. I'm like, I don't know. If you watch YouTube and you do as much content on realignment as you do, you probably know who Golden Blue Dude is because every time you put anything, in the search field, anything to do with college sports, a fucking Golden Blue Dude video was going to come up because he had a million of them. The dude was insatiable, unstoppable. Just kept going. So I'm like, you probably have heard of the guy. You probably have seen, maybe you didn't watch the video, but you've seen the thumbnails. I'm like, I didn't really buy that much. And they're like, oh, we're just too busy. Fuck you. No, you're not. Some bitch is 300 pounds talking about a workout. You weren't busy. Let's put it. You weren't too busy. No one's too busy to talk to someone over Skype or whatever the fuck. That's I don't know. Just say no. You don't have to bullshit. Let's see here. Mr. Rell talking to Big Lubbock. TV audiences are declining across the board except for NFL. Live sports can't hold up the networks if there are other 5 days are mediocre show audiences. They've been doing it. They've been doing it. But like I said, it's not just your mom and pop's cable company, even the big mega ones. And it's not just your satellite. It's YouTube TV. It's Hulu Live, whatever. And there's several other ones out there that do, that do like you can piece together your own live shit, channels or whatever. So they're diversifying a little bit to stay alive. Let's put it that way. Let's see. Bullseye. What's up, Bullseye? Larry P. That's a step up for the Monty Show. Okay. Sorry. Got lost in the comments. Mr. L. Comcast just announced that for the first time in its history, cable customers are a minority of the households they are in. I believe that. I mean, insanely, I cut the cord years ago. It's just there was just too many other options. And of course, now with all the damn streaming services, you're pretty much paying the same stupid $200 a month or whatever. I mean, we're under that, kind of. Oh, it's always a trap. The Big Lubbock. I think NC State, Duke, Louisville, and Pitt end up in the Big 12. I don't know about Duke. I would love Duke. Um, I would love UNC too. Now, like I said, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion they're in the Big Ten or the SEC. That's why I say that. But yeah, I got no problem with that. I don't know, Virginia Tech. I wouldn't mind Virginia Tech as well. Laura Weiss, what's up? I didn't like the way Monty dismissed Golden Blue, dude. Yeah, that was just. And the thing is, when I watched it, I kind of cringed a little bit when Golden Blue dude asked. I'm like, oh, dude, don't do that, because I knew it was going to happen, and then it did happen. And then I'm like, hold on, why am I watching this asshole if I know that's what he was going to? Because you just get the feeling of it. I was like, you know, that's kind of the, like there's a local radio station I really like in town, and the cool thing is they're kind of like that particular station was one of like the first talk radio stations in the '90s, so they're like the ones who kind of came up with the format. So they'll, they're a little bit like that, but they don't come off as so arrogant, you know. Or they'll just kind of be an ass just to be an ass and be funny about it. Like, oh, who the fuck are you? But, they also have like, I don't know, they're like the highest rated, radio show for what that's worth in the area. So, oh, let's see here. Mr. L. Hard to see ESPN and what's left of the ACC is assuming teams leave, give up on the ACC network. I don't know what's the big deal about the ACC network. I mean, what do you mean give up on it? I mean, if you don't have a conference, why have a network? I'm sure there's more shit to it, and you know more about it than I do, but I don't know. There's these people, they find new ditches to bury bodies in. Let's put it that way. They always seem to. Now, let's see. The Big Lubbock. ESPN is in a pinch with ACC schools wanting to go to the SEC. I don't think ESPN can fund the billion-dollar contract by themselves for the SEC. They may not have to. I mean, there's talks that, they don't really see Amazon as a competitor, and I don't think they do. So there are streaming options later on down the road when that is, becomes apparent that shit like that's going to happen. But they're big brands. I'm guaranteeing you, they want Florida State, they want Clemson, and probably Miami to go to the SEC because that's just great content, great matchups. That's what they're looking for. That's what these TV networks, that's what ESPN wants. So I think there's value in that. The rest of the schools, maybe they can find a Big Ten home. Some outside of those three, I don't know who the hell the Big Ten would want. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe they take UNC. I don't know. But if like Fox and ESPN, Big Ten, SEC have to work together to make that happen, I'm speculative. I'm not speculative. I'm whatever the proper fucking word. I don't know how that just happens. It's weird because I think there's going to be a fight over the certain teams, certain brands. The Big Ten isn't just going to help you. They're going to want some shit their way, and certain maybe a certain school like Florida State, they would really want. Mr. L, no idea why people watch that Monty guy. Well, he has a good presentation, but like I say, he's a former radio guy, so he kind of comes off that way. And I've listened to radio because I've been driving my whole life as far as professionally, so I'm used to that kind of format, that kind of voice, and all that shit. So it makes sense because that kind of thing works. Um, it is a lot of commercials. It's a lot of commercials, a lot of selling shit. That gets old. I mean, I admire the hustle. You know, I admire the hustle. I can fast forward past your booked up segment. I don't know. It was just in the way because here's the thing. He's not a radio guy anymore. He's on the internet. He's supposed to be an independent guy. And when you have other independent creators in a community and you don't want to recognize anybody, you want to be different. Hey, we're serious here. We break news. We got sources. Well, fucking hooray for you. But you're not Andrew Marchand. You're not Dennis Dodd. No one takes you seriously except for you. That's the crux, right? That's where the shit hits the road. Ooh, Larry Pilgrim. I thought the same thing. I knew they would be too good for the gold blue dude in their own mind. Kinda was. Squeak Carlisle? We'll go with that. Squeak. Monty thinks he's still on the radio, not YouTube. Yeah, that's kind of the deal. But honestly, that's kind of what attracted me to it. And the same thing with 365 Sports. It plays out like a radio show, so they might be on the radio. I don't know. Secret Agent, what's up, man? The arrogance and constant sponsors BS. They turned me off. He absolutely knew GBD. They also acted like they didn't know some national writers. Fake and blowhards. It definitely came across that way. Mr. L, what's the big deal about the ACC network? Money. It brings in $300 million a year that's split between the conference and ESPN. $150 million isn't something ESPN is willing to let go of. Okay. I understand that, but once your blue bloods leave, what is the ACC network worth then? Is it still worth $300 million? I don't know that. But that's an interesting thing. I didn't know anything about those numbers right there. So still got a lot to learn about the ACC shit going on. But it's fun to learn it. Mr. L, just like the regional sports networks, one or more OTA networks may decline. Oh, I said that right. OTA, yeah. Networks may decline, declare bankruptcy if the media market further deteriorates. That alleviates them from paying the Big Ten just like the RSNs are doing. Wow, you just went way deep into fucking baseball there. Mr. L to MLB teams. What are my thoughts on all that? It's kind of you may be a little bit more knowledgeable about how some of that shit works than I am. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are more knowledgeable about that shit than I am. But I think what you're basically showing is that it's going to be really complicated to just bust apart the ACC. Not easy. So I'm not sure if that's something that can happen within just a mere couple of years. Excuse me. Sunny V or 5. Monty's not even the worst one on that show. Oh, the other guy's all right, I guess. More like an echo, right? Yeah, like the Big 12 finished. Maybe I can't do a good impression. I need to stop. Mr. L, the ACC network is still worth the homes they're in and the carriage fees they're paying. No matter who leaves and who joins, Too much money to say that there won't be an ACC in 13 years. Well, I think smarter people than me or you are trying to figure that out. That's my fallback position. But I maintain, ESPN. It'll take a lot to convince them to do that because that's just too good a deal. The only way I could see, the only reason for them to undermine the ACC or work to help get rid of it is that they want to keep the big teams, the big markets, the big brands within ESPN control and not lose them to Fox. That's the only reason to do it. But you kind of need Fox and the Big Ten to come in and to get it done. So it's a bastard. It's a real son of a bitch to figure that out in a logical way to make it make sense. It's just going to be a son of a bitch. I think we can both agree on that. It's going to be damn near impossible to get that to happen. All right, Curtis D316, what's up, dude? Big Ten wants the Big 12 to add schools from the Pac-12 so they can't be liable for the destruction of the conference. I keep hearing that. I don't know. There may be a little truth to that. I don't know. I think the people because not all of the Big Ten just don't want to expand. There are people that do want to add more West Coast teams, Oregon, Washington, or Stanford and Cal. They want to. Not all. There's a handful of people within the Big Ten that want to continue to expand and expand west. But there's also probably an equal amount of people who don't. So they have to convince the other group. One way to do that is Pac gets just a minimal shit whatever deal, and then you can come in there and give Oregon and Washington $30 million a year, $35 million a year, somewhere in that neighborhood. It might entice some other people to say, well, for that price, it's not bad. They're still dilutive. But maybe by the time they get to be full share members, we've kind of worked it out to where they are no longer dilutive. Don't know how you do that. Don't know how you shuffle the money around to make it all cool. But that's just, some speculation on my part. Some wild ass shit. All right, so one thing I've been holding on to for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just throw it out here. This has nothing to do with football or what we've been talking about, sports, the greatness of sports, realignment and all that. Had a little interaction with John Kurtz today. Little disappointing. I still like the guy. I think he's a good dude. And, I listened to his show on the way home from work today. I like him. But I got reminded today that he is a millennial. He is, what's the proper word? A little bit of an emotional hemophiliac with certain things. Okay. So, of course, he throws out, he's throwing out stuff about, mass shootings, school shootings, serious freaking topic, right? And got a little bit, he's throwing stuff. So I go ahead and I put something on there, and I really wasn't talking to him. It was on his post on Twitter. But, there's a lot of people like, well, when are we going to get rid of the guns kind of thing? And, I'm not a gun advocate. I'm not a gun person. I'm not in gun culture. I don't own a gun. Don't particularly like guns. But I do love the Bill of Rights. And I don't have one problem at all with people exercising their right to bear arms. So I'm not in favor of any of that. um, as far as like diminishing your right. So I just commented something really simple on there. I was just like, you know, I was like, oh yeah, prohibition because it works so well with alcohol and drugs, right? I think we all know the history of the prohibition of alcohol. It didn't work out well, and we got rid of it. And of course, there's been a war on drugs forever, and have not done shit about it. No, doesn't matter. And I don't know. I'll come back into this in a minute. Let me read. Let me read his response here. And again, I'm not trying to be a dickhole about this, but you'll get why it kind of bothered me. So with my prohibition works so well with alcohol and drugs thing, he responded and said, "What's crazy is we have laws and regulations about then, where, how much, etc. with alcohol and dope, so that shit doesn't get out of hand. That's what I'm asking for. Shit is quite clearly out of hand." Okay, so, and keep in mind, this isn't sports. You're talking about like an actual issue that's actually real and very important. I got 4 kids. My youngest kid's still in high school, so it's a very important fucking issue, right? Get it? And it's an emotional issue, but when you're adults, right, you don't have a dog in any of these fights really, other than you worry about the health of kids that you don't know, or maybe kids that you do know. Like I said, I have a daughter still in school. I worry about something popping off at her school. I don't want anything to pop off. But I also know that a gun isn't like, it's an inanimate object. It's not talking to somebody, convincing them to do something. So my question is, why are they doing some evil shit? All right. So, and plus, John started, he threw out some curses in there. And usually when you're talking about an issue, and when someone starts to curse, they're getting emotional. You can't, of course, they're getting emotional if you're face to face with the person, but this is over Twitter. All right, whether it's Twitter or text messages or whatever, when someone starts throwing some cuss words out there, they're getting a little hot. They're getting a little bothered or whatever. So I just responded to him. I said, much respect to you, Mr. Kurtz, but we have laws. We have had major laws against dope that does nothing. True. Drugs are still here, available in every city, major, minor, small town, everywhere. So drug laws haven't done shit. And like, you can change the laws. Like, that's what he was talking about. He's talking about regulations. Well, I mean, laws won't help. I mean, you can see Chicago, California, New York, New Jersey. I mean, some of the hardest hit places with gun crime have tremendous gun laws. The strictest gun laws in the country: California, Chicago, New York. Hasn't stopped dick, jack shit. That's why I get tired of that argument. But people start to, get into their feelings. So after that, he just, okay, hold on. Before that, I threw a little thing in there afterwards. I said the bigger question in debates need to be addressed. Was it wise to have a whole generation of kids on mind-altering chemicals because they're hyper or in need of therapy? Blaming a gun is blaming a symptom, and that's what it is. Now, I'm older than John Kurtz. I am his elder. I'm 45. I think he's like 30, early 30s or something like that. So I've been around longer. I'm sure he's smarter than me. I'm sure he has a better education than I do, which means he has more debt than I do. But I have more wisdom. I've looked at all this shit for years and years. And my mind's changed back and forth on a lot of different shit. But what got me is after I said that, he was just like, yeah, goodbye. And I'm like, at first it pissed me off, but then I was like, hold on. He's a millennial. He's in his feelings. He just wanted to express his feelings. And I wasn't going to agree with his emotional diarrhea he threw out there. Like I said, I like Kurtz, but unfortunately, like I said, I got reminded today that he's a millennial. He's been feminized like most people in this generation have, and if you've been married any length of time, you know damn well that your woman gets emotional, pissed, whatever, but afterwards she settles down. All of a sudden, logic comes in. You have a great conversation, mature conversation about whatever the issue is. So, I still love John Kurtz. I still gonna watch his shit, but just I know now, whenever he wants to post something about something serious, I'm just gonna stay away from it because he's not emotionally mature enough to actually have conversations about shit. And I don't think he's clout chasing. I think he actually is a compassionate man. I think a lot of people clout chase the shit out of stuff. Ed Warder, people like that. People old enough to know better. Old enough to know better and have had plenty of time on this planet to actually learn some shit. But, John Kurtz still has a little growth to go before you can have set aside emotions and actually have thoughtful, meaningful conversations. Because thoughtful, meaningful conversations is the only way shit ever changes. You want to get something before Congress? It takes a lot of people out here, dumbass regular people, actually asking real fucking questions. So, I can go on for hours about this shit. And I'm not going to kill y'all with that. So I just wanted to put that out there for a second. I like John Kurtz, but that's one of the. I'm new to Twitter, and I'm sure Mr. Kurtz is one of those people say, "Oh man, Twitter can be just some vile shit or whatever." I'm like, yeah, because people get too emotional, just like he did. If you're just being logical and trying to have a meaningful, mature conversation about a really serious topic, and if you can't do that, how about don't fucking tweet about it? Mr. Kurtz, just don't fucking tweet about it. If you're not ready to have a conversation, and yeah, goodbye. Yeah, then don't fucking just shut the fuck up. That's it. But other than that, he's got a lovely show. I like him. I do. He doesn't come across as someone who's too good for somebody. He's just in his feelings. All right, where did I leave off here before I got sidetracked into that shit? Larry Pilgrim, F. Kurtz, Pitchfork Rallying Company, Pitchfork Rallying Punk. I don't know what that means, but okay. I think I missed one by Curtis D. Big Ten trying to put the stranglehold on Notre Dame by announcing they no longer have to play P5 teams in non-conference play. I don't know how that puts a stranglehold on them, though. I mean, if the Big Ten actually do that, because they can find plenty of people in the Big 12 to play. I don't think there's anybody in the Big 12 that would not like a nice, good old-fashioned non-conference every year game with Notre Dame. So, I don't know, you kind of kicking yourself in the balls there. Curtis D316, Josh Neighbors was fired from Locked On Big 12. What? Is that because his nose was too red, or what the fuck? That's crazy. Did he get arrested or something? I don't know. I kind of like Josh Neighbors. I don't agree with everything, but that's the same with anybody. I don't agree with everybody. I got my own asshole ideas about stuff. But I thought he did a good job, so that's weird. Of course, people ask if he didn't know why. Mr. L, agree with you. People don't realize how easy it is to make a firearm or ammunition, especially with 3D printers nowadays. Polymer designs like Glock now. Yeah, true. But you gotta, like I said, you gotta think that shit didn't start happening until the 90s. I mean, I'm sure there was some mass shootings. I'm sure some shit went down in the school at some point in the 80s and we just didn't hear about it. Maybe even 70s. But you got to think about it. Guns have been in this country since its founding, 1777. Every generation, those guns get more advanced. They get more effective. They get more lethal, you know. And really for the entire 20th century, the 1900s, we've had insane guns, Tommy guns, machine guns in this country, just all kinds of shit. And this never was an issue until we get to the late 90s. And it just so happens those first generation of kids that started getting medicated by fucking doctors said, oh, they're too hyper? Pill. Oh, your kid seems to be sad. Pill. You know, oh, they have trouble concentrating. Pill. You know, what does that do to a developing brain? This, you know, mind-altering, chemical fucking changing shit in the mind. What does it do to a growing brain of a child? Did these fuckers really know? I don't think they did. I think they knew it wouldn't like outright kill them or make their heart explode. But we didn't know enough about the human brain back then. Do we really know enough now? So when you got a brain that's still growing in a child and you're changing the chemical makeup, I'm not saying it'll make every kid a raving lunatic going into a school, but it's going to affect, apparently, I believe it seems to be affecting some kids in a pretty bad way, not to mention the suicide rate going up. So I'm talking about amongst youngsters. So I'm just saying for the government, who gets a lot of their money to get reelected from these fucking Pfizer, brought to you by Pfizer. Yeah, Joe Biden, brought to you by Pfizer. It's probably why they don't want to talk about it. They'd rather just have us fight amongst ourselves about guns. And the guns ain't even going to stop this shit. I don't know. My thought for the day. Curtis316, he posted the audio of what Huggins said on his channel and was fired for it, even though he was against it and wanted him fired. What the fuck? So he posted audio of what Huggins said on his channel and was fired for it. You know, that's the thing about being on this locked on shit. You know, I know Josh Neighbors doesn't have like, he's got talent. He's good. But that's the problem with this corporate fucking shit, man. I hope Josh Neighbors goes independent. If he does, support him. He's seems like a good kid to me. And that's some bullshit. If that's true, that's some straight bullshit. Mr. L, the people who think a ban will solve everything don't understand the chemistry of gunpowder and the skill of everyday people in their garage. You know, like I said, prohibition does nothing. All you'll have to build more prisons. You know, if you straight up want to ban guns, you better build a fuck ton of prisons. And we already imprison like more people than anyone else. So that's kind of stupid. But yeah, as far as, I mean, think about how many people that Timothy McVeigh took out in Oklahoma City. And you're talking about a truck full of horse shit. And he blew a building apart. So if you're really wanting to cause mass destruction in this country, unfortunately, that's the negative part of liberty and freedom, is that people are also free to be dicks, even murderers, rapists, you name it. It sucks. That's the sucky part of that. Now, we can lock everybody down after work. You can't leave the house ever because you never know when you might be a crazy fuck. But it's like people never read Animal Farm or watched that little movie, that little cartoon. I watched that shit when I was a kid, and it stuck with my ass. You know, I wish people like John Kurtz would go back. I mean, this is somebody who lived through, you know, how communism became an evil, murderous piece of shit, you know, with Stalin and all that. You need to go back and history will teach you what happens when you go down that road. Well, we gotta start restraining some of these rights because public health. Fuck you. All right. Let's see here. Larry Pilgrim, thanks for letting me know. That sucks. It does suck. Sunny V. Psycho's gonna psycho. Law enforcement officers at all schools. Well, pretty much they are at all schools. But again, that helps in protection, a little bit. But we got to get to the source of why these kids are doing this shit. And like I said, the gun ain't sitting there going, "Hey man, I'm just right here, bro. I got one in the chamber. Let's go. Let's rock and roll." The gun ain't doing that shit. There's something going on in these kids' heads. There's something going on. That's what you got to figure out. But people don't want to know. People don't want to look into it. I have a bad feeling it ain't vaccines. It's a lot of these fucking pills they prescribe to kids instead of therapy. How many parents out there, instead of busting their kids' ass, instead of being consistent and loving in their discipline, being a parent, or just straight up ignoring their kids instead of getting out in the yard and wrestling and throwing the ball around and having fun. No. You got to go and get your 16-hour days so you can have your Lexus and shit. And then your kid gets ignored and they start acting up because they want your attention. They want your affection. So you shove a pill down their throat so they'll shut the fuck up and go to sleep. Just saying, there's been a lot of that shit the last 20 years. And we wonder why this shit's popping off. But no, let's blame the gun. Let's get emotional and fucking dumbass. We're going to make a useless law that'll do fucking nothing. Because it does nothing everywhere it's tried. People act like they've never done any of that shit before. Well, you do it on the federal level. Well, if it doesn't work on the city level and it doesn't work on the state level, how the fuck's it going to work on the federal level, dumbass? It's like, John Kurtz is a smart dude, real smart guy. I know he went to Kansas State and all that kind of shit. I got a GED and I figured that shit out. It's not hard to figure the fuck out. I mean, open your fucking eyes, man. You don't trust a government with more laws, the same government that had us in active war for majority of my life, and we're in Iraq for what? A lie. Weapons of mass destruction, eh? How many people got to die and no one went to jail over that? Come on. All right, that's enough. See what see. That's what happens when I start getting into some bullshit. It's just because of Twitter. You know what? Like I said, whenever something serious pops off and it's someone I like, I'm just not going to say nothing. What if they respond? What if they pull out their tampon and start waving it around and getting all emotional on me? See, that's what happens. So I don't need to do that shit. Let's see, Mr. L should have mentioned France's gun laws in that massacre that happened at the Bataclan Theater. People are naive and ignorant, especially John Kurtz. That's right. As a matter of fact, I believe it was the Eagles of Heavy Metal that played. Good band. But I think they're the ones that were playing at that time. Larry Pilgrim, Kurtz doesn't do conversation. He only makes statements because he can't handle it. Well, that's fine. Make a statement, but you're throwing it on Twitter, and anyone can respond. Not just your followers, but anybody who sees it can respond on there. If you don't want to have a conversation, then shut the fuck up. He didn't have to respond to me at all. I'm sure he thinks I'm just another mindless redneck piece of shit with my above ground swimming pool and my big propane tank in the backyard. No, I'm in the middle of fucking Fort Worth in a brick house. To me, Kurtzy is the redneck. You're living in little tiny ass Kansas. Dude, Texas shit's bigger than Kansas. All right. Bullseye. I like your point of view, Numbskull. I own a lot of firearms. Carry one everywhere I go. Used it to keep a guy from killing his wife. Kept it pointed at him until the police showed up to arrest him. Bullseye. He played the soundbite of Huggins to get fired. Okay. Well, I'm glad you helped a woman out there, Bullseye, and I appreciate that. But I'm not trying to have everyone bash the little shit out of John Kurtz. Okay. I still enjoy John Kurtz. I just know now he's this millennial, little bit of a snowflake, and will say nothing that actually, like so many people. It's not just Mr. Kurtz. It's half this planet that just wants to whine and cry about shit instead of actually having a mature conversation about it. And I'm not saying I know everything and I have all the answers. I'm not saying that. But we can have a conversation between two adults. Well, I need to find someone, I can have conversations with actual mature adults. John Kurtz is not exactly, he's not done yet. he's not done. He needs to get a little older, a little wiser, then maybe he handles his shit a little better and doesn't cry and piss and moan all over Twitter. Anyway. Laura Weiss, these shootings have one thing in common. They were in a no-gun zone, the mental health issues. But why the mental health issues? I got people in my family with mental health issues. And they are around guns. They have family that have guns. There's guns in the house, and they're not violent people. So what's making these people violent? That's the question. It ain't the fucking gun making you violent. But something's making you violent. It ain't just about mental health. It's about what's fucking people's mental health. People ain't just born like that. Mr. L, we're talking about people who don't realize how easy it is to make a firearm. One can acquire them in countries with strict gun laws like Belgium, just like drugs, like you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, like I say, if you'll never get rid of the guns in this. There's too many. It's too pervasive. It's too much in the culture. Our entire history is built with the gun, literally. So they ain't going nowhere. All these fucksticks think, it ain't going nowhere. But if you got like this magic Australian wand and poof, all the fucking guns gone. Well, we just make it impossible. How would you get? See, all the guns are gone. Well, no, all the guns are gone. You can get guns all you want, but there'll be no more guns. It's real easy. You just hide them in a box of cocaine, they'll get right across the border, dumbass. There ain't no getting rid of them. It's too big a market. Laura Rice, choices made with your emotions aren't usually good choices. Laura Weiss, Josh played Huggins' soundbite in its entirety. I don't know. I still don't know what's bad about that. I never heard it. But it's like, maybe he forgot to beep it out. But still, it seems to be a little much. I don't know. Curtis D316, mental abuse and bullying is way different than from back in our days with social media and cell phones. True. And that'll definitely, it doesn't help your suicide rate or some other things, but I still think there's some chemical problems. I don't know. I don't trust the damn. Don't trust the government. Don't trust the fucking pharmaceutical people. I mean, the last 20, 30 years, they haven't given us a lot of reasons to trust. Hell, the last year, they haven't given us a lot of reasons to trust them. Let's see here. Laura Weiss. In my day, guys would go to school with their gun in the rack in their truck. Texas. Hey, it's like that in my school. There were several shit kickers that I went to school with. They'd have, shotgun, .22 or whatever. So they thought they were cool in the gun rack. Not a big deal. Hell, I had 2 or 3 big ass knives I always took to school. I'm talking about it damn near like a sword, man, because I thought it was super cool, you know. It wasn't, but whatever, you know. Everyone had a boot knife, buck knife, something. I mean, no one ever got stabbed. No one ever pulled a knife out. All right, guys, I'm about to wrap this up. Let me go ahead and hit the last couple of these. Laura Weiss, okay, I already said that. Sorry. Craig Kirsch, what's up, dude? Bullying was handled differently 40 years ago. You beat the person up or found someone to do it for you. That ended it very quickly, sure. Laura Weiss, a lot of young people never learned how to handle their feelings or adversity. Well, there are differences between men and women, and healthy differences. Nothing wrong with it, but I think there's too much feminist stuff has been shoved down these young kids like Mr. Kurtz, so it doesn't do any good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with some empathy, but you don't gotta cry. David AZ, they teach kids these days it's okay to have emotions. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to learn how to control them. David AZ, why not just look at what other first world countries are doing in terms of gun violence and shootings? Because we are different. We are a lot different. And don't want to get into too much of debate, but read American history and everyone else's. It's a lot different. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here, and see me in the next video.